Some of us in Uganda are aware of the fact that some property rates in this country are higher than the property rates in some renowned capitals of the world. Let's say in the US and South Africa. Add Europe to that. Now, there is a smart Ugandan businessman who has seen opportunity in this area and is linking Ugandan property developers or those keen on investing within the real estate market to properties in the US.
We have a couple of Ugandan Americans who have purchased real estate in the United States, and over the course of 3 years, their properties have appreciated to over 200,000 US dollars or 300,000 US dollars. And that is money that they can pull out of their properties and bring and invest in Uganda. My goal is to educate as many people as possible so that they can also do the same thing and come and invest in Uganda. The reason I'm doing this is because I want people empowered through education so they can lift themselves and become wealthy, just as the Chinese have done with American real estate and the Europeans have done with American real estate. Somebody may ask, what are the benefits of investing in American real estate? Number one, there's no barrier to investing in real estate in America. Anybody can do it. Even if you're in Uganda, you're in Kenya, in Tanzania, anybody can invest in real estate. The second benefit is access to financing. So anybody who has any amount, it can be $10,000, it could be $50,000. Typically, you will need to bring 25%, and then you'll access 75% capital. I'll give you an example. Somebody who has 50,000 US dollars can either come from a SACCO or a group of people where people pull money together, and you can bring that to a private lender in the United States, and they'll give you an additional 150,000 US dollars. You'll take that amount, buy a property that's selling for 200,000, and be able to also access money to fix the property. So a private lender will also add money to the $200,000 you have to fix a property. In this example, let's say fixing or rehabilitating the property is going to cost $100,000. Now, the 100,000 added to the 150 brings you to 250,000 US dollars. Just by having 50,000 that you maybe pooled money together with friends or family. Now, real estate in the United States of America appreciates over time. It's been known to appreciate at least 5% every year. So if you buy a property for 200,000, fix it for an additional 100,000, you may be able to sell it for 400 to 500,000 US dollars. And this is within a space of 3 to 6 months. So ideally, you're walking away with $100,000 to $200,000 of profit that you can either reinvest in the United States or you can bring back into Uganda and do marvelous things with. The other benefit you have is the ability to visit the property you buy in the United States. For investors that know about the EB5 visa program, people who invest capital up to even $1 million can access this visa to visit their property, visit their businesses, and be able to touch physically the properties that they've purchased. Now, some of the challenges that we are facing, number one, it's trust and building credibility. Because there are some businesses that have existed in Uganda whereby people have been duped of their money. I know some people call them bafere. But my advice, especially to the youth, even for an opportunity like this, is to do your due diligence and make sure that in any real estate transaction that you do, you always involve a real estate attorney or a lawyer. And we also encourage you to come with your own, who can look at the opportunity we have with the attorney that we have in the US so they can speak their language and make sure that what you're buying actually exists. Our due diligence process has not just only me, but a few individuals involved. So you have myself, you'll have 2 attorneys, one in Uganda, one in the United States. You'll have a home inspector who's working for you and not me in the United States as well. You'll also have an appraiser, somebody who's going to look at the property that you're buying and make sure that it's actually valued for what you're buying. You don't want to buy something I'm telling you is worth $200,000 when it's only worth 50. So the appraiser who's working for you will verify all those things. Any property that's bought in the United States, you can look it up online. You can go to sites like Zillow.com or Redfin.com, type in the property that I want to sell you, and you'll verify if it's actually being sold, or it was sold long ago, or if it's not for sale. The advice that I have for the youth, especially in Uganda, when it comes to business or even real estate, either in Uganda or abroad, is make sure you do your due diligence. Don't buy property without a lawyer. Don't buy property that doesn't have a title. Always make sure that when it comes to paperwork, there's a paper trail. The most important thing, especially having a lawyer that's part of this transaction, is they'll do a title search. They'll look at the title and they'll go back 50 years just to make sure that the person who's selling you the property actually owns it.
It is our commitment on this show to share with you thoughts of wisdom that can help you make the right decisions in business, or be it personal finance as an individual or household. Take a look.
The principles I follow to stay in business, one of them is honesty. When you borrow money, you make sure you don't wait for the person who has lent you the money to give you a call. Keeping good relationship with your suppliers, your bankers, your employees, for example, paying them salary in time. Another thing is like trying not to exaggerate prices. When you are honest and you give the right prices to the client, they will always trust you even when things go sour. Then also adding value to the service. We make sure you are giving the right drug to the patient with the right information, so that when they consume it, you are in the long run you are saving health. We keep the records. We employ people who know what they are doing. If you are a dispenser, you have to be a qualified one. And a cashier is different from a dispenser. It's also helping us to move on well.
Energy conservation is one of the measures that climate change advocates are looking at to help reverse or slow the climate change reality that the world, and Uganda in particular, are contending with. Now, in this segment of technology today, we again bring you another innovator who has come up with a good idea, breakthrough idea, that can help conserve and preserve energy.
We have the hydro dam, the one in Nile, but it produces a lot of power, but that power we use only 20% of it. So what causes the loss, which is around 80%. So that is the innovation that I wanted to start with, because in electricity generation, we are good. Electricity consumption, we are good, but there is a bridge in between there. When they are producing power, they do it during day and at a given time. But the people who are using power, they use it 24/7. So that is the innovation that I came in with, that I needed to build up something that can store the power for someone to use even if the Owen Falls Dam is switched off, then you can still use your power. So I came up with energy storage system, and I started studying how best can we utilize the materials we have from within the country so that we can build energy storage system. I started with some things that are commonly known to us. These are rice husks, these are coffee husks, and when you look at them, someone will tell you, these are just waste. But this waste is a source of carbon material, and the carbon material is the material that is needed on the one part of the battery. We call it the anode part of the battery. So if it is needed, said, okay, let me start with that. I purified all this and tried to do some functionalization up to this kind of material. Now this is material, carbon material for anode side. So after that, I later on discovered that within the country we have graphite mines that were recently discovered. That was 2022 from Chitigu. So I went on to also get some samples and tried to work on them so that they reach battery grade. This is the side, and this is the same processed one. This is the level of the battery material. Then after that, I started testing them for its output. You know, when you're doing batteries, there is a lot of science. You do one side alone until you reach the end. You do the positive side alone, you reach the end, the middle side, because mainly the battery has three parts: the positive, the negative, and the middle part, which is the separator. In research, no one is doing all the three at once. So, but me, since I was the only one in the country and I was the one starting, I had to touch here and there and do all the three, but later on specialize on the two which are the major. That is the positive and the anode, which contributes up to 75% of the battery. So I have quite a number of materials here for the cathode side. I've tried to look at the Lake Katwe salt to get out the lithium that is there, which is very small, the sodium that is there in the sodium battery technology. Then later on I found out that we have mines for lithium, and now I'm trying to earmark those active sites for lithium. How best can we mine these materials and we utilize them to build our own batteries. Then from that, since the battery was far-reached, I had to start with the phone batteries because all the batteries that we have in the country are fully imported. So I started with them. These are still demos because of machinery issues. So I have different output. This, if it is fully conditioned, it can go up to 5,000 milliamps, and that will be one of the best on market, because currently we have 4,000 milliamps as for Samsung and those other phones. These are LFP batteries which are rechargeable. They are used in different gadgets, and this is the technology where to go. Because as you're seeing it here, a single cell, we call it a cell because it is one. We put it into a pack. Once you put it into a pack, you can run electric vehicle like the Kira EV. This is the battery they are looking for, and they are all imported. And when you look at the cost of maybe the Kira bus, that one bus, the cost of production, around 60% of the cost of the production goes to the battery pack. So if we can produce these within the country, which we have tried to do now, then the electric buses will go down, maybe to 30%, maybe 20%, because they will be locally produced. So this is the science we are trying to work on as our innovation. It is still new because everyone now is looking at Tesla as the main big man into energy storage. So they have tried to get all the lithium ores from different mines, but they have not taken the one we have in the country. So let's add value on these ores, and we produce our own products.
As you mentioned, we have Chira EV, okay? But this assembly here, this piece here, a unit, can't run such a big unit. We need to cascade them. It is 3.5, and yet the battery could be requiring to do the lighting, to start the engine, could be requiring, say, 48 voltages. Since this one is just 3, we have to cascade them. Cascading, we put them in a certain configuration. For us to add up the voltages, we put them in series so that the voltages add. Application, we can use them in motorbikes. Remember, we are trying to move away from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And as I mentioned, these are renewable sources, biomass. If we can come up, as he has already come up with some of the prototypes, if we are able to assemble them, we should be able to go to run, for example, motorbikes.
On that, we've come to the end of this week's edition of Money and Market. Thank you for being part of the show. Again, we'd like to wish you a very good evening. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, don't hesitate to drop us a line on the addresses on your screen. Let's keep the conversation going as usual. I've been your host, Charles Borg. Now from me and team, once again, good evening.